Hey y'all, so before we get started today, I do want to let y'all know that this is going to be a two-part situation because the severity of this is serious and I want y'all to understand everything that's going on. So yeah, now if you hear anything in the background, that's just Jamal. He's playing the game. Y'all know how he get with his little game and everything. Today's t-shirt is, I got that actually on Wish way before the pandemic, so don't judge me. That's Gambit or whatever. Of course, my towel in the background because I just got to block out everything there or whatever. So yeah, let's get started. I'll be right back.
Can get rid of me. They still throwing shade on my energy. I gotta make sure they remember me. Just know that these looking no fun to me. You know, to the checkers we hustle. We getting it straight off the muscle. If it ain't the money.
Hey y'all, so today I'm going to be talking about my experience at Shipper's Choice. As I mentioned, this is going to be a two-part video because the story is pretty long and I just don't want to confuse y'all. So anyway, when I first went to Shipper's Choice, I spoke with my recruiter. His name was Dale. Cool peoples. Now, before I go any further, some people's names is going to be replaced or whatever due to the fact that I don't even care for them like that. But anyway, so his name was Dale, and he basically told me how much I was going to pay, which was $3,000 for a Class B, for Class B training. And then he told me that the Class B's training process was 2 weeks of in-class work and then 1 week of backing and driving or whatever. So now with your my classroom work, if I had my CDL first, my CDL permit first, I wouldn't have had to go to the classroom or whatever. So being that I did have my permit, but it was expired, I had to still take the classroom situation. So I thought. So anyway, whatever the case may be, we're going to skip straight to your first day. My first day at Shipper's Choice, I was wearing a Swift hoodie because Jamal used to work at Swift and they gave him a hoodie that said Swift on it. Now, I understand Shipper's Choice, I'm going to Shipper's Choice, but I got on the Swift situation. They love, I ain't going to say they, one person, we're going to call him Mr. Man. He was a Russian. He was a little upset when he saw my Swift hoodie because he said he used to work at Swift. But my first day of class, when I first got there, we did our contracts. They basically went over how Class A was going to go, how Class B was going to go. And they told me, well, since you failed at the DMV and your permit is expired, you're going to have to do your 40 hours of classroom time and you're going to have to re-get your permit or whatever. I had to still study for my permit. Now this part was on me because I should have just went to DMV and asked them how the process go, but I relied on them to tell me that. So I ended up having to spend time in the classroom. Now, on our first day, when we was doing our studying for our permit test, because you have to go to the DMV and take a permit test. They try to get you prepared for that first before you go any further. Basically, me and Mr. Man got into it because he was asking questions that I was giving answers to, and he didn't like that. Like just your simple DMV questions that they're gonna ask on the test. He was like, he basically asked the question, and I had the answer to it. So then once I started getting them right back to back, I guess he got a little frustrated and he called me out my name, which wasn't a bad name. He just was like, does anybody else but Swift know the answer? And I was like, okay, I ain't gonna say nothing else. So then he ended up starting to ask questions, and then when nobody would answer him, he was like, Swift, like looking at me like, you gonna answer? So I was like, my name is not Swift, my name is Shannon. And then I told him the answer. He was like, oh, okay, or whatever. So that was my first day. He made me mad. I'm not going to sit right here and act like I ain't had no attitude after that. I did, because I felt like you was just picking at that point. First, when I was getting them right, you act like you had a problem. But then when don't nobody want to answer or don't nobody know the answer, now you're picking. So, whatever. That was basically the first day. So the second day we went to school. I'm gonna say that was the second day. It could have been the first. I'm thinking on it now. Second day we got to school. We got a packet which had our pre-trip in it, or whatever the case may be. And Class B has a separate pre-trip from Class A, of course, because they're two different vehicles. And he gives us the pre-trip. Now, in my head, I already knew that I knew the pre-trip. So I didn't pay it no mind or whatever. I didn't even look at the pre-trip, because when I went to the DMV the first time with Swift, I had passed that or whatever. So I know I got that on lock. Now, this was not too long ago in between. Well, yeah, it was about 2 years. It was like a 2-year difference. But it was like, I already knew the parts of the truck. So unless somebody changed the parts on the truck between the time I did my little pre-trip thing, I was going to be fine. So, but I'm still studying in my head. I'm just like reciting it in my head. And I go and I sit. It's like a little rail. Like, our truck is parked here, and then like there's a rail right there that's like a little road behind it that goes to the DMV. Cause if you go to Shipper's Choice, the DMV like right across the walkway or whatever. So I'm sitting on that little rail, and everybody's waiting on him to come show the pre-trip. So he come out there and he was like, I'm gonna show y'all with this little thing. He come out there and he was like, this is this part, this part. That's that part. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, well, damn. Ain't nobody gonna know all that. He's saying it all quick and all fast and just kind of like rushing through it, kind of like a brush off or whatever. In my head, I was just like, you know what? It ain't none of my business. I know what I know. Can't nobody take nothing I know from me. So I'm just gonna do me and sit right here and just pretend like I'm listening to him or whatever. So then, after that, it was another guy that had been there for some time. Now, they was out there. It was some guys out there already just doing a pre-trip and working. Now, we the new students now. He took one of the older students that was like set to go to the DMV, and he was like, can you come show them the pre-trip or whatever? And this guy comes over there, and the first thing I noticed is that he called the hub oil seal the coolant reservoir. And I was like, that ain't even right. In my head, I was like, that ain't right. He still let him continue to show everybody the pre-trip though. And I'm just like, bruh, this man don't know what he's talking about. Like, he said a number of things wrong, but that was the one that got me. Because I'm like, hold on, your coolant is in your engine. So how you gonna try to tell me your coolant is on your tire? But none of my business though. I ain't worried about it. I'm just gonna do whatever it is I do. So once everything was all done or whatever, I went back, sat back on the little thing, and whatever the case may be, I see the boys that I came in with that was in my class, and they were like over there, they were confused and they was like stuttering all over it. Now at this point, Mr. Man had left. After he showed us and he stuck that other guy on us, he had left and went with Class A. So I seen the guys over there struggling or whatever, but I didn't say nothing to them because I felt like if they needed some help with something, they would ask or whatever. So eventually, a guy that was in my class, he came over there and he was like, you know this? And I was like, yeah, I know this or whatever. And he came to me, he was like, yeah, because my dad went here a few years back, and basically he said that they ain't gonna teach me nothing here, and that it's a good place to go if you just want to go get your CDL, but you kind of got to know something already, or you're gonna have to learn on your own. And basically his dad had learned from another guy that was there. So I was like, oh dang, that's messed up or whatever. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I was like, I know a little bit, but I'm gonna tell you off top, like, the stuff that I know came from another school, and they might not be happy with the way I do my pre-trip, because clearly we do it two separate ways. So I was like, let me see if I can show you their way. He hands me the pre-trip paper, and it's like, it's the same stuff. It's just a different way. And I understand people are going to do things different. But, and then my CDL holders out here, you tell me, if you go to do your pre-trip, are you going to start from your tire, your drive tire, and then move to the back of your truck? Or start from this tire and then go to that tire? I don't know. It was a little confusing. Once I looked down at the paper, I was like, first of all, he got y'all going everywhere. Like, if you learn it from front to back and from top to bottom, like I was taught, you wouldn't miss nothing, you know. And that's the biggest thing when you're doing your pre-trip. You can't really miss that many. So I'm like, nah, we're going to start this over. We're going to do it the proper way. I'm going to show you the way I do it. Let me just make sure I call it what they call it, which it was the same thing. So I showed them my version of the pre-trip. They like, yeah, that's better. I don't understand why it's like this and like that. And the guy that I was talking to was like, yeah, see, that's what my daddy was talking about. Like, they don't teach us nothing or whatever. So I look over and Mr. Man is over there doing whatever it is Mr. Man want to do. He not checking on us. He don't really too much care. And at this point, we got it under control. There was another guy there, older guy, Mike. I hope that you are doing well, my friend, or whatever. He was like, you know what? I know the pre-trip a little bit too. And I'm going to take what I know, and I'm going to take what you know, and I'm going to write it down. I'm going to put it on flashcards and give everybody flashcards. And that's what he did. And that's how we basically made it through our pre-trip. By learning from each other. We took what I knew, we took what Mike knew, we put it down on flashcards, and that's how we did it. And I felt like for Shipper's Choice to be a school, you should take the time out to help your students. Now, before anybody asks, did we go back and ask him to show us the proper pre-trip? Yes, we did. And I'm going to tell you his exact quote. Mr. Man's, the Russian man, his exact quote was, I don't understand what y'all need help with. It's a dump truck. Just say the pots. Say that they ain't broken. So, I mean, at that point, I felt like as a student, I can't even come to you and ask you for help because you already looked down on the fact that we're doing a dump truck and they're doing a tractor trailer. And it felt like that. It felt like him, I'm not going to say everybody there, but that instructor made us feel like we weren't as important as a tractor trailer or whatever. But it's fine. So, anyway, after that, I was having issues with my CDL permit situation. Now, I was told that I had to retake everything to go to the DMV to get my permit or whatever the case may be. And I was like, well, dang, like, it's crazy that I got to retake my permit test when I already had my permit or whatever the case may be. But like I said, it was my fault because I should have just went to DMV and asked them. But I didn't. I chose to communicate that through Shipper's Choice. Now, I spent 2.5 weeks in the classroom to do that. And it was a mess, y'all. Because when I asked, they said, oh yeah, you got to redo everything. But then I got to the DMV to go take my permit test or whatever so that I can gear up to go on the road on my 3rd week or whatever. Because by this time, everybody's outside except for everybody that didn't have their permit straight. And, you know, I get to the DMV. I get all the way to the DMV. I retake my test and everything. And y'all, tell me why DMV, after I finished taking the test all over again, and I aced the motherfucker. No boost on nobody, no bullshit. I wouldn't lie to you. I aced the motherfucker or whatever. And I'm like excited because I'm finally getting ready to start, go, get on the road or whatever. And I get to the counter. The lady was like, Miss Parker, why did you retake your test? And I was like, because I was told I had to. And she was like, no, all you had to do was come up here, pay your little $4 so that you can have an extension. And I was like, what? She was like, yeah. And I was like, see, this is how much this school know. I ain't even have to do all that. All I had to do was come up here and get that. Or whatever. Then, mind you, I'm sorry, y'all. That flag just went by. Y'all, we gonna act like we ain't seen it because I'm not restarting this thing. Now, mind you, beforehand, when I asked them, it was like they was upset because they had to sign a piece of paper from the DMV. There's a piece of paper that's saying basically like, I'm taking my 40-hour class over again so that I can go back to the DMV. And they were a bit confused. Shipper's Choice was a bit confused. This is how I know they don't know their information. They was a bit confused because they're like, well, I don't know if you have to just take the class portion and go back to the DMV, or you got to stay here for 3 weeks or whatever. But it was a piece of paper. It's like a pink piece of paper that you have to get signed and taken back to the DMV so that you can go back to the CDL DMV, because it's two different things. There's your regular DMV, and then there's the CDL DMV. So I told them, just sign the paper and then I'll ask DMV. Mr. Man won't sign in that paper. Mr. Man was like, oh no, we're not going to sign this paper until you complete your 3 weeks. And I was like, well, maybe I ain't got to complete 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. Now, at this point, I didn't retook my test, which took me 2.5 weeks. So I'm just like, well, you know what? Bump it. Might as well just wait till I'm finished my little 3 weeks or whatever. So, that being said, these motherfuckers don't know what they talking about. They don't. And in my next video, I guess I'll get into everything that took place after that. I really just don't want this to be a long video for y'all. But now that I done said all this, I'm kind of feeling like I should just finish because it's really not that much more. But I ain't gonna do y'all like that. So, yeah, in my next video, I'll basically tell you what happened after that because it gets a little complicated. So at this point, I done got my permit straight. And now I'm trying to work on getting my my driving and everything up or whatever so that I can go back. And I didn't wasted a lot of time for no reason. So yeah, that, and then I'm gonna tell you how me and Mr. Man got into it. I'll see y'all in the next one. This one is already like 13, 14, 15 minutes. I'll be back, y'all. Just click on the next video.
They all hate us, but I really...
I thought I was ready to leave without telling y'all. Anyway, I love y'all. Y'all be safe. Mind your fucking business. And please, don't raw ass the toilet seat.
Subscribe.
They all hate us, but I really get my roll on. Thought we was in it to win this shit, I'ma stroll on. I tell them hold on.